another 6 months, it went up. So then I was like, man, this is really good. So then after that, what I decided is let me see some other things that I can do with credit.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for another Black Money Monday. I'm so thankful to be here with a special guest today. She's going to be sharing with us about a lot of things, some about her background, things that she's learned in life. She's a very intelligent woman, a very financially literate and smart and wise woman. And today she's going to share with us about her life. She's also going to share with you guys some steps and tips that you can take to improve your credit. Thank you so much for joining me. Tammy, will you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yes, ma'am. I am Tammy Goodwin, and I've been married for 22 years. We have 4 sons, 17, 15, 13, and 7, getting ready to be 8. My husband and I, we've been together for a very long time. And so we've learned a lot of things over the years. I started in real estate first. So I've been in real estate over 20 years, learned a lot about when is a good time to buy, when is the best time to invest. I've started doing some of my own investing and flipping of properties, learned a lot from that. Learned a lot about credit in general, helping people to raise their credit from 500 credit scores, 400 credit scores to 6 to 7. And I started with my own, and I started with mine. Mine was at a 526, and I took my score from a 526 to a 727 in 1 year. And now my husband and I, our scores are in the 8s. I'm always playing with them. I'm always doing things. I'm always figuring out what I can do to make them better. And so my goal in life is to really give back to people and to educate people. That's the biggest thing that I want to do, is to educate people and to teach them how to use credit to be your best friend.
Awesome. Wow, that's a lot. So I guess I got a lot out of what you just shared even, and I'm sure everybody who's listening did too. So I know we're going to move forward. We're going to talk a little bit about, where you started, what life was like before you really got into, I want to say, found your success. You know what I'm saying? Your path to success and everything. But to go from a 520 to what'd you say, 700 in 1 year?
727.
Wow. So to me, honestly, for myself, I'm interested in hearing what you're going to share. I'm sure everybody else is too, because that speaks for itself. And what I want to say is, like, as you were speaking, I appreciate the candidness of you sharing what your score was, and not just coming across like, oh, I have it together, let me help you figure out how to have it together. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's what a lot of us need. A lot of people in our community need, is people who can say, look, I've been in one place, maybe where some of you are, and this is how I got out of it. So, but tell us a little bit about, like, what was life like? Where was, work life? What was life like before you found the path to your wealth, your success, and where you are now?
So, before I met my husband, I worked for Bell South, and I was, young. And this is what I've noticed about a lot of my clients that I work with today. Most people get in trouble between when they graduate from high school and their college years, right about when they've probably been working about 1 or 2 years. And a lot of it is because, we're so excited because we have good credit. And so we can get all these credit cards, and that's what happens. Everybody sends you their credit card. Get my credit card, and you get the credit cards. And so I love to shop. So you go shopping, you like the nice things, you get a car, you maybe get a car payment that you can pay, but maybe you shouldn't pay because it's a little high, but you don't care because you got good credit. And so you get the car, you get all the stuff, and then life happens, life sets in, and then you have to start paying all these bills. And then not that even paying all the bills, you have to start paying all these bills on time, all the time.
Right.
And that's usually what gets people. And that's what got me, is paying all my bills on time all the time. So what happened was I didn't pay all my bills on time all the time. And before I married my husband, who I'm married to now, I was married to another individual. Marriage, it was, we were married for about 3 years, and then we decided to not be married anymore. So a lot of times when you have a divorce, a separation, or whatever, you take on debt, not just yours, but some of the individuals. And there was a lot there. There's a lot we had to separate. Then you go from being two incomes to one income, and you just go through, some people go through some type of stress, some type of depression. It's a lot that goes on. So I went through some stuff. So I had some bills, but the truth is I could have paid the bills. I just wanted to live like I wanted to live. So I love to shop. I love to have the nice things. I love to be flashy. So I was shopping. I was being flashy. I was making all these bills, and I wasn't paying my bills on time all the time. So it reflected in my credit score. And so I had a credit score of 526. And then when I met my husband that I'm married to now, when I met George, um, George was on, he was on it. He was like, okay, now we need to look at these bills here. He was like, okay. He said, I love you, and I'm going to take you with all your baggage. So pack it all up and bring it all with you. However, we're going to clean it up. So that was his thing. We're going to clean it up. And so right before he and I got together, I had started to do a bankruptcy. And I learned a lot about bankruptcy, when you should do it and when you shouldn't do it. And so I had started doing a bankruptcy, and the bankruptcy people never told me, you know what, it's not a good thing for you to do that. How I found out it wasn't a good thing is Macy's. Macy's was one of my creditors, and I had let them know that I was going to be doing a bankruptcy. And they were like, really? They said, well, if you don't do the bankruptcy, we will just wipe your credit clean and we'll let you start over with our card. I was like, what? And that was my biggest card. It was my Macy's credit card. And I'm like, really?
Wow.
So that's what they did. They wiped my debt. And so I didn't go through with the bankruptcy. George told me, he said, I don't want you to go through with the bankruptcy either. He said, let's just pay your debt off. He said, write it all down on a piece of paper. So that's what I did. I wrote everything down. And when I wrote it down, it wasn't a lot. It wasn't a lot. I might have had maybe $10,000 worth of debt. That was not a lot. It was it was manageable. Right. So he said, you know what? My money's going to pay the bills. I want you to use your money and pay your debt. So that's one thing that I did. The second thing that I did is, because this man paid all his bills on time, before time, not on time, before time. He paid all his bills before they were due. So because of that, I just attached myself to his bills. So I put myself on every credit card that he has as an authorized user. So my first 6 months we were together, my score grew 100 points.
Wow.
Blown away. I was like, wow, is that what happens when you pay your bills on time? Your credit score goes up? I'm like, that's cool. So I did it another 6 months. It went up. So then I was like, man, this is really good. So then after that, what I decided is let me see some other things that I can do with credit. So what I did was I convinced 15 of my family and friends to let me fix their credit and use their credit to see what different things would do. So I did the same thing on everybody's credit to see if it would yield me the same score. So I added a credit card to everybody. I had people pay their credit cards to a certain amount of money. So every time I did something, I kept a tally of it. I kept a documentation of what it did to their score, because that's the only way I was going to know what happened. And so I would go back and I would review what happened to everybody's score. And then if I did the same thing to some people, what would happen? And then my score, that's where I would take the most risk. And I knew I would always hear people say, whatever you do, don't close a credit card. And I would hear them say it, but it didn't help me to just say, don't close a credit card. I need to know, well, if you close a credit card, what happens? So I decided to close one of my credit cards that I had. Now, my intention was to close one of my credit cards that I've only had for like a year. I accidentally closed a credit card that I had for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh boy,
I'm like, how do we?
I closed the credit because it was both. They were both
It
a
was the same company.
account. They were same company.
Got it. Okay.
So I closed the wrong one. I closed the one with 5 years, and it took 55 points off of my credit.
Oh my gosh.
55 points. So I said, okay, so this is why people say don't close the credit card. So it was eye-opening. So then I got to tell people, do not close a credit card, and this is why, because you can lose 55 points. And you know how I know? Because I did it.
Right.
However, because I had been playing with my credit and all these people's credit, I was able to get my points back up just like that. And just recently, I was working with my sister. My sister has she's buying a house, and the lender was like, well, you know, it would be better for us if we can get her score to a 700s, and she had a 639. And they said, well, we can do it, but it's going to take like 3 months. I was like, okay, well, let me do it. So in 3 weeks, I got my sister to a 704 on her credit score.
What? Wow.